Let's dive into the discussions shaping the nation.
Tá anar mór dom a lúirt an seo, mar teach na Dáilí ar an Cabhán agus Monachan. I am proud to stand here today for the first time as an elected representative of the people of Cavan and Monaghan. The same constituency that returned hunger striker Kieran Doherty in 1981. The same that in 1987 returned my friend and colleague Éowyn O'Callaghan as the first Sinn Féin TD in more than a generation. And the same constituency that has now returned its strongest Sinn Féin Oireachtas team for our constituency in living memory, which I am honoured to be part of, alongside my colleagues Matt Carthy and Pauline Tully. Goramila Mayagav Galer, Maclan, Macamradi, and Shaw, agus gach duine a tacni lum, le vota agus de cúnamh. I thank my party colleagues, my family and those who voted for me, and for all who helped over the course of the campaign. A Cathaoirleach, Storm Éowyn inflict devastation across this island. Such severe weather events are undeniably becoming more common. But there is a feeling amongst people, especially in rural Ireland, that the devastation was compounded by poor planning. It is hard to dismiss to such feelings given not just the extended period that many people, including in my own constituency of Cavan and Monaghan, were left without basic utilities such as electricity and water, and also because, for many, this wasn't a once-in-a-decade event or a once-in-a-year event, with many having experienced only weeks earlier during Storm Dara. Last week, I had the opportunity, alongside Sinn Féin leader Mary Lou MacDonald, to meet with those at the coal-faced who were responding to this storm. All the frontline workers and all those in community hubs seeking to redress what in many cases was undue hardship borne to ordinary families and workers. It is them that I want to thank today for responding to what arose from what I can only attribute to poor planning and an underinvestment in infrastructure. At the outset, I would like to raise two general matters that I am not certain have been addressed as yet, and I would appeal to the Minister to address such in his closing remarks. The first relates to people who, due to being unable to use the internet and not having access to it, were unable to log on to Job Seekers Declaration, and as a result have missed out on their social welfare payments for this week that they were entitled to. Can the Minister please outline by which payments, how are these going to be recouped? And secondly, the lack of access to clean drinking water and electric has been a real public health implication in terms of disease being exacerbated, negative mental health implications, and regarding nutrition, to name but some. Can the Minister to the Government please speak to the Government public health response to this storm? A Cathaoirleach, while the ESB and others continue to work to restore power to those still without electric and water, it is our responsibility now to look to the medium and the long term. How is it that at its peak and upwards, 768,000 ESB customers were without electricity? How was it such a considerable number of people were without drinking water? And why is it that people in rural Ireland, like Cavan and Monaghan, are so often expected to endure substandard service levels for critical infrastructure? The terrain may be rougher, the bedlock may be tougher, the population lower than most urban areas, but the scale of the impact does not fully explain the burden to my constituents have been forced to bear? To me, the answer is clear. A long-standing dearth of investment in critical infrastructure in rural Ireland by successive Fine Gael and Fianna Fáil governments, and the lack of redundancy to migrate and the worst impacts of underinvestment. So to my mind, the key question we must now answer: how do we redress these deficiencies? If such severe weather events are to become more common, what I would ask the government is this: do your job and begin today to put in place the measures necessary to ensure that next year, in 3 years, in 5 years, and in a decade from now, rural people from counties like Cavan and Monaghan do not decry the government as simply yet one more failed to implement these necessary actions. And I would ask the government to carry out a risk assessment now to prepare for future storms, involving the commissioning of an examination of what existing overground infrastructure can be feasibly underground in the short and medium and long term, especially airgrid. To take note regarding the newly proposed infrastructure, this needs to be undergrounded. Identify the scale and scope of emergency generators needed at the ready, especially regarding our water infrastructure. To what extent are battery storage and other redundancies capable when required? Consideration as to the extent of which poor planning in terms of tree, forestry compounded the storm's impact. I would ask the government to reflect on the impact of their anti-rural policies, their anti-car policies with sufficiently improving public transport, their carbon tax that increase the price of petrol and diesel, irrespective of whether or not that person can afford a new car, or is to, if sufficiently charged infrastructure exists. Their ban, that's the government's ban, on turf and much more. Reflect now on your policies when it is so patently clear that you in government have not lived up to your end of the bargain and your obligations to deliver the necessary infrastructure to mitigate unreliability.
Like, share, and subscribe, and let us know your thoughts in the comments. We'd love to hear from you.